Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be speaking to James Goetschius about Italian and a career in teaching. James has taught Italian 1 through AP Italian at Lenape High School in New Jersey for the past 5 years. He is also a current member of the College Board's AP Italian Exam Development Committee and is pursuing his master's in foreign language teaching at Michigan State University. Hi, James, and welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So before we start, I wanted to say thank you to you and to all the teachers out there, especially in world languages. It's been a tough year and your work has been amazing. So thank you so much for the work that you've done over the pandemic. And what I want to ask you, which I've been asking all my sort of non-native speaking interviewees, is how did you get interested in studying Italian?
So it's interesting, actually. There was no one in my house growing up who spoke Italian. My mother's side of the family is Italian American, but no one in the house spoke Italian. But I grew up in a community just outside of New York City with a very large Italian American population and Italian speaking population too. And this is really unique. The school that I went to for elementary and middle school actually only offered Italian. There were no other options, and it was a public school, which makes it even more unique and interesting. And I remember my teachers in that K through 8 level, how motivating they were, how much fun they made the classes. It really sparked my interest in the language and in the culture and just learning more about the country of Italy and some cultural practices associated with the Italian speaking world. It really made me want to continue my studies of Italian in high school. And one experience that I had in high school, which I really think made me want to continue on through college and beyond, was my high school actually organized a trip to Italy my junior year. And just going to the country and being able to use the language that I was learning in school and experience the culture and see just how beautiful the country of Italy is just in person, that really motivated me to want to continue learning the language in college so that I could go back to Italy and kind of explore some places, not just as an English speaking tourist in the country, but really be able to interact with natives of Italy, maybe who don't speak English at all, and explore some other places in Italy where maybe knowing Italian is extremely important or necessary. So for me, it really was in the classroom, more so than wanting to learn the language to be able to speak at home with my parents or grandparents or something like that.
What was your personal career journey that ended up leading you to education and eventually teaching Italian in high school?
Great question. So going into college, my plan was actually not to become an Italian teacher. I was interested in business as a major, and I decided to study international business as my major. And I really wanted to continue studying Italian, like I said before. So I decided that I would minor in the language. While I was at college, I would say it was probably my junior year where I just started thinking about maybe teaching the language as a possible career option for me. I had a unique experience where I went to school. I went to the College of New Jersey, which is kind of in between New York City and Philadelphia, really strong Italian program. And they allowed or gave the opportunity to advanced learners of the language taking 300 or 400 level courses to actually serve as TAs for students in the introductory levels of Italian. And we got paid to do that. It was an on-campus job. And what would happen is each week we would lead 60-minute long conversation hours for the students who are in those Italian 101, 102, 103 levels. And we'd plan tasks for them to do, things that were communicative and fun or some sort of exploration of Italian culture during that hour-long period. It was part of their course grade, actually. And I really enjoyed that experience, even though the students who I was teaching were like my age, or in some cases they were older than me, because since I had a lot of language proficiency leaving high school going into college, I actually started this when I was a freshman at TCNJ. But I just remembered having a lot of fun with it. And I had the most fun in my Italian classes in college. The business school courses were interesting to me, but I really felt at home and felt like I was having a lot of fun in those Italian classes. So right around the end of college was when I really started thinking about maybe getting my teaching certificate in Italian. And when I left college, I didn't have a teaching job lined up right away. Couldn't really find a school right after college. So I did work in the private sector for a little bit at a company called Stryker, which is a medical device company. But I knew all along that I wanted to teach Italian. I felt like that was what I wanted to do and try out early in my career. And while I was at Stryker, I saw a maternity leave position pop up, and I took it. I was teaching 100 7th and 8th graders, and I didn't even study education in college. So that was quite the experience. It was a very good experience for me. But yeah, it was a unique path, a little bit different because I didn't study education in college, but I ended up teaching Italian, and I still really, really love it.
If I'm a student and I'm interested in taking a more traditional path to potentially becoming an Italian school teacher than you did, is there any particular major or minor that I have to do during my undergraduate degree in order to become an Italian teacher?
So if at the end of high school, you knew that teaching Italian was something you would really be interested in as a career path, you would probably be looking for a university that first has an Italian program that's robust in the sense that there are many courses offered at that 200, 300 level and beyond, at more advanced levels of proficiency. You can find the information regarding what types of Italian courses are offered at a university on the Department of World Languages website of the college. So that would be the first thing that would be important. The second thing would be your major would be foreign language education or foreign language teaching. So finding a university that has that as an undergraduate major would be very useful for sure. The good thing about finding a college or university that has a foreign language teaching or foreign language education major or program is that everything will be nicely planned out for you in the sense that they will have a path in place that allows you to take Italian courses and also those courses in foreign language teaching and second language acquisition and linguistics and things of that nature, classroom management, whatever it might be. Some years you'll have more Italian courses than education courses. Sometimes it'll be a little bit flipped and you'll have more education courses than you have Italian. So overall, I think finding that program that has foreign language teaching is important also because at the end of the program, you'll likely be awarded a certificate or credential to teach Italian in the state where that university is. And then depending on that state's requirements, a lot of times certificates can be transferred to other states. If let's say maybe you go to a university that's not in your home state where you plan to teach, that happens sometimes. There might be a little bit of a process involved there, but information is always available on the Department of Education website of your state, and just search for Italian and that information will be present there.
That's great information. And I would just add that if your university or college has a semester or a year abroad program for your junior year in Italy, to definitely take advantage of that. My next question is about the difference in credentialing requirements between a private and a public school that is looking for Italian teachers. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yes, there are some differences between public and private schools when it comes to the requirements in order to teach at a public or a private school. With public schools, there's a lot of consistency in the requirements as far as what credential you need or what certificate you need, what types of courses you need to have taken prior to getting the certificate. And that information, when you're teaching in a public school, is available online at the Department of Education, State Department of Education website where you plan to teach. There'll be a PDF document that has listed out all of the requirements that you need in order to be eligible for the credential or certificate in that state. And all public schools, for the most part, in all states will have that consistent requirement that you need that certificate in order to teach at a public school. With private schools, it can be a little bit different. Sometimes a private school will not require a teaching credential or a teaching certificate, and all that they will require is that you're a subject matter expert and that you can prove that you're able to teach the language that you're an expert in which case, again, that credential or certificate would not be necessary. Likewise, you may only need a bachelor's degree versus a master's degree. The requirements can be a little bit different in private schools versus public schools, and they're going to be different from private school to private school. So you'll have to find that information on the website of the specific private school that you plan to apply it to teach at. That's an option for a lot of prospective Italian teachers because there are many private schools. I know here in New Jersey, we have a lot of Catholic schools that have robust Italian programs. So that's another consideration. One other thing to say would be my pathway to teaching was not a traditional route, and states do offer alternate routes to certification. So here in New Jersey, I only took one foreign language education course in my entire undergraduate career. I took a lot of Italian courses, but only one education course. And I was still able to be certified to teach Italian right after undergraduate. And how the system works in most states is if you do some pre-service courses, generally online, you're actually able to be eligible to teach in the public schools so long as you've taken certain courses in the subject matter that you plan to teach. So here in New Jersey, you needed 30 credits in Italian at the 200 level or above, and one course in second language acquisition or foreign language teaching, which I happened to take my senior year at the College of New Jersey. If you have those two things, you can get your certificate of eligibility, which puts you into the classroom. And then while you're in the classroom, you'll be taking courses online, or maybe a course online, or maybe at night that coincides with your first year and sometimes second year of teaching. Now, that's how it works in New Jersey. I think it works quite similarly in other states, but again, I would research alternate routes to certification in the state that you plan to teach, because you don't always need that traditional route.
That's really great information. So I think it's really important for anyone who is interested in pursuing teaching Italian to really get on their state's Department of Education website and look at the traditional path as well as alternative paths that are available to them. My next question to you is regarding subject material competency for credentialing. Would you recommend a student who is interested in teaching Italian to get a second credential?
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. When you leave college, having two credentials can make you very marketable and very attractive to prospective employers. And I actually hold two credentials, maybe in a somewhat different kind of subject matter. I studied business in college. My degree is in international business. So I'm actually able to teach any business course in a high school here in New Jersey, whether that be accounting, marketing, personal finance. And when you're applying for jobs, maybe out of college, but maybe later on in your career, if you plan to switch careers, you having those two credentials really puts you at the top of the list sometimes, because with school districts, when they're making personnel decisions, knowing that they have someone coming in who can provide them with some flexibility, if let's say 1 year numbers are up in one department but down in another department, they can kind of shift you into different departments, and that really is attractive to them, especially nowadays. Likewise, I would say not many people are being dual certified in business and Italian, but common ones are Italian with another Romance language, so that you're able to teach Italian and Spanish, or Italian and French, for example. Special education credentials are in high demand right now all around the country. So possibly pursuing that while you're in undergrad is another good idea. It could be anything. Let's say you go to undergrad for biology or chemistry and you still continue taking Italian courses later on in college. you're thinking about maybe teaching Italian, you could get dual certified in chemistry and Italian. It's not extremely common, but I've seen it happen before, and it really does make you marketable. And then for job security too, let's say, God forbid, your numbers go down a little bit one year and you don't have a full slate of Italian sections in your school. Well, your fourth or fifth class can be in another department, and you'll still have a full-time job and have that job security, which is so important.
Yeah, and I know here in California, a double credential in Spanish is very common. And I've also seen districts now really wanting to see English language development certifications on top of a credential in order to, like you said, make them more marketable and be able to be slot into potential other positions to create a full-time position for Italian teachers. My last question to you is kind of a fun one. I kind of want to know, what have been some of your best experiences in the classroom as an Italian teacher?
So definitely, I have to say, every 2 years, we take the students to Italy. Usually we go with the Latin department as well. And taking the trips over to Italy and seeing their reactions being in the country for the first time is just so rewarding and exciting. For a lot of these students, it's their first time being in another country, and it's their first time using Italian outside of the classroom context, where there are some Italian speakers here in the Philadelphia area, but for the most part, they're only using their Italian in the instructed context in the classroom. So when they go to Italy for the first time and they see that they can understand things around them, they can read a billboard, they can read marketing material at the airport, they start seeing things that they've learned in class. That's so exciting for them. And then also just being able to navigate certain situations in the target language in Italy, and figuring out that they're able to be understood is something else that's really exciting for them. Now, they might not be completely fluent in their junior or senior year of high school, especially because my students start their freshman year of high school studying Italian for the first time. But the important thing is that they can be understood, and that's such a rewarding feeling for them and also for me. And I really just think that the creativity that you have as a teacher to be able to kind of do what you want in the classroom on a day-to-day basis and control your day-to-day, planning the activities that you think will be fun to your students, engaging to them and help them get just a little bit better in Italian that day. That whole process is very fun and very exciting. And sometimes I have some friends who are like, "Oh, don't you get a little bored or tired of teaching the same stuff every year?" But to that I respond, I mean, when you're teaching a language and culture, things are changing on a year-to-year basis. Things that are interesting to students changes on a year-to-year basis. So I don't find myself doing the same thing year after year. Every year is something brand new, and it's just really exciting and rewarding to teach students Italian and try to create that family atmosphere in my classroom that I enjoyed growing up, that got me interested in Italian in the first place.
James, I wanted to thank you so much for being with us here today. It's been a really wonderful and informative interview. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. I love talking about my experience teaching Italian. It's been so much fun.
Grazie, ciao.
Grazie mille. Ciao, ciao.